Season 2 begins with Vaibhav preparing for the orientation session in Maheshwari classes for his first day while trying to battle the pangs of nostalgia of prodigy classes from Season 1. He's found his new Meena, who he calls Fair Meena. Welcome to an innocent racist remark, the first ever in Kota Factory. Of course he was joking. Outside, a sporadic, giant billboard alleviates his perplexity when he sees Jitu Bhaiya's posters getting ready to stick up. He says he's the best, even confessing a one-sided crush. The orientation session is a rude awakening for Vaibhav and the others who've come to Maheshwari in the hope of being granted the key to the future. Instead, a baffling pep talk by the owner throws them in a bit of a tizzy. With that said, Season 2 and Season 1 have notable similarities, and therefore to say whether Season 2 swam through the strong undercurrents of Season 1 to build its momentum would be taking it too far. The problems of the students haven't changed, nothing off the page. It's all too creamed into the layers of decadent entree of the IIT elementary operations. The vision of Season 2 is befuddled with a lack of ingenuity and fails to process the message in the spirit it was meant to. Whereas Season 1 lays a perfect groundwork while using the word factory adequately in its core messaging, Season 2 furthers that vision without practicing too hard to create its own identity. This season also saw the cessation of the character development except for Jitu Bhaiya, whose personal aspiration provided for a modicum of a fresh breath of air. His efforts to help the students by donning the hat of an agony aunt saw him climbing beyond the boundaries of the prodigy classes this time. In one of his visits, after having learnt about Meena's little disinclined episode that forced him to forsake the quest for knowledge, and he quite disapprovingly finds himself in strife with guilt for finding pleasures in the morally shaken ecosystem of masturbation, Jitu Bhaiya's advice that float like a river scoops him out of shame in an instant. But even Jitu Bhaiya's agony aunt act has limitations. The season showed us exactly that. He's constantly threatened by the folks in his class whose capabilities cannot be questioned, yet he's afraid they would resort to severe measures should the results didn't come out as expected. Then there was a tempting offer from someone to nip the competition in the bud. Instead of bowing down to the offer from the rival, he politely declines. His idealism to not compromise on his dream of owning a coaching center meets with a skeptical appreciation from the owner of a bustling coaching factory. He even says this one is different, which meant he was not going to back off. The other leading characters of the show don't have an adequate playground to thrive in order to rearrange the boundaries of the character sketch. They've been found to be restricted within the cusp of whatever character design the last season offered, and nothing worth unique can be winkled from the act this time around. This is not to say that we're casting aspersions on the performance. In fact, it was the performances from each of them which was on point. But if Season 1 had continued for 5 more episodes, we wouldn't have needed Season 2 to begin with. We were anticipating Season 2 to set up the place for a new identity, and therefore fails to answer a valid question. How is Season 2 any different from Season 1? Kota Factory continues to mill ample reasons to observe the unscrupulous operations that take place behind the IIT or similar entrance exams. It gives us a veritable narrative about the aspirants running the race to finish at the top. But this season also fixes our tryst with the visually inaccessible race running rampant at the level of coaching centers, attempting to outshine the others while locking hypothetical horns. In that, the arena was completely similar to the political factions taking crime-inspiring strides to grab the seat of power. Unlike them, the coaching centers didn't take fancy to striking below the belt. However, to generate more funding for the business, the coaching centers can be seen resorting to the use of debauchery to achieve the ends, like buying off the top performers so that their marketing board reads a mention of the triumph. These billboards run throughout the wide expanse of the city, tumbling on top of each other, barely escaping the gaze of the passers-by. And this boils down to palatable business for them. What Season 2 also managed to create for us was the prelude to what will be anticipated in Season 3. A remarkable spectacle opens up in the heart of the city to celebrate the triumph of the winners and the disavowal of the losers. In my mind, that should be the end of the series. The journey that started with the enrollment into the coaching classes a year ago would find its fitting end with the conclusion of JEE mains in the ensuing season. I rated season 1 as 5 on 5, however season 2 didn't come up my expectations, yet it is still watchable given that the ball that seemed to drop in the first half of the season doesn't fall far from where it couldn't be grabbed again. The season in the end evinces a comeback of sorts to prepare a threshold for season 3. Just remember, when the movie of one of the Khans in Bollywood performs disappointingly, it still manages to rake in 100 crore business at the box office. And the same concept applies to Kota Factory as well. In the end, I would rate the season 3.5 on 5. Yeah, the same problem. What do I watch next? What do I watch next?